Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Broker Talk. I'm your host each week. I'm Larry Lawfer. Today's show is going to be interesting, especially if you're a successful real estate agent. I have with me Cami Baker, who here she is going to promote her book right away. Real estate is
Just
hot,
kidding.
fundraising is not. She is Real Agents of Change. She has a certification program and she helps charities and philanthropies work with real estate agents and others to build the communities, to create a legacy, and to promote you as an agent. So, how does all this work, Cami?
I love that you went ahead and threw the word out legacy, Larry. Thank you for that. We call these legacy listings because when folks are donating real estate, absolutely generous, heart centered people who own real estate all over the country are donating real estate. And when that real estate gets donated, the very first thing we need to do is list it with a realtor at a full commission because the nonprofits don't want the real estate, they want the money. So we list it with a real estate agent at a full commission. And when it sells, the average donation from a piece of real estate is $600,000 from one donor at one time. And friend, that's what leaves legacy. Legacy for the nonprofit, legacy for the donor, and legacy for realtors.
So I think I'm beginning to understand this a little bit better. So you work with all different kinds of philanthropies. How many philanthropies do you work with?
Well, there's 1.5 million
Okay.
nonprofits in this country. So let's just say right out loud, every nonprofit qualifies. In other words, less than 1%, less than a half a percent of nonprofits can actually take real estate themselves. It's very complicated, it's risky. They don't have the expertise, they don't have the capital, they just don't know what to do with it. They're scared to death of it. So, what do the 99.9% who don't know how to handle real estate do? Well, they can work with us. We have a team that makes this completely risk free. There's zero out of pocket. We have what's called a specialized nonprofit. And this specialized nonprofit takes title to the real estate, pays off mortgages, gives cash to the donor if they don't want to donate the full amount. And then it's the specialized nonprofit that hires the real estate agent at a full commission. And when all the expenses are recouped, 95% of the proceeds go to any of these nonprofits. So we've helped dozens individual Habitat for Humanity, churches, universities, public radio, Girl Scouts, Goodwill. I mean, there's a ton of them, but I just want everybody to know any and all nonprofits qualify.
So the original question, Cami, I understand that, and I appreciate the broader perspective. How many are you actually working with in the last year?
32.
Okay, that's a fairly good number based on everything that you said. So you are working in how many states right now?
Well, we are traveling in our RV and we are living in Florida and we're focused here only because 10% of nonprofits are here and 10% of real estate agents are here and you got to focus somewhere.
Sure.
However, these deals are happening all over California, Arizona, New York State, Georgia, Florida. So it is a US based tax code. So any and all states. We personally are in Florida.
So if I'm an agent and I'm working in New England and I have a philanthropy that I care about, but they can't accept a real estate as this, I can come to you with that, or they can come to you with that. That this guy is in his living trust, his revocable trust. He's decided that he is going to deed this property to us. He passes on. I'm talking about me, so I'm actually not dead yet, but I pass on, and then the mechanism is that you have a certified agent who works in this area who sells that property, and then you divvy up the money back to the nonprofit or the philanthropy and to the agent who gets the full commission, plus the lawyers. I'm sure everybody gets paid, to close the
Yeah.
deal.
And the donor of the property doesn't have to wait until they pass on. What we really love about this is that a lot of people that are donating real estate are doing it because they're altruistic, they're heart centered. Everybody gets great tax benefits like no capital gains tax, and they can write off the full appraised value from their adjusted gross income. However, the majority of people that we play with are those who want to donate real estate for the right reasons. So they aren't necessarily waiting until they die to leave it. They're actually wanting to see the money get used right now. And I'm glad that you bring up New England because we're actually working with the Community Foundation of New Hampshire. And
Okay.
this particular community foundation has about $1 billion that they hold in their community foundation for all their philanthropists. And they grant out about 1% of that every year. But even these big community foundations that can take real estate and that will, if it's local, if it's mortgage free, if it's super easy in their county, even those folks don't want to handle real estate from all over the country. So this gentleman, Rick Peck, as a matter of fact, who's the executive director there, when they have real estate that comes in from Florida or Texas or California or something like that, that they don't want to handle, then we help them with it.
Let's talk about your certification. I think it's the third Thursday of every month. You have a program, a 3 or 4 hour program. Talk about that.
Sure. Well, actually, it's the third Tuesday of the month,
Tuesday.
and we're doing it. It's become so popular that we're doing it the first and the third Tuesday of the month now, and we've whittled it down to about 2.5 hours. And it's the Charitable Real Estate Specialist certification. So when we do these interviews and we have different things that we call Charitable Real Estate 101 overviews, we kind of think of this as the appetizer. When you want the full buffet, you come to the master class, and then we really take a deep dive why this benefits everyone. We talk about the 3 different ways that a property owner can help a nonprofit through the gifting of real estate. So, for example, in the class, the first way is if the donor of the property just goes and sells it themselves and gives the proceeds to the nonprofit world. Problem with that, Larry, is it's the worst way. It's the old-fashioned way. Frankly, it's the lazy way because the nonprofit gets the least amount of money, the donor gets the least amount of tax advantage, and the government gets a nice big chunk. So that's the worst way. The second way that they can do it is if they donate the real estate directly to their church or the Boys and Girls Club or Habitat for Humanity. But the problem is 99.9% of nonprofits won't touch it. They say no, go sell it and give us the proceeds. So that's the hardest way to find someone that actually will take the real estate. So the third way is how we do it with that specialized nonprofit that takes title, takes all financial responsibility, it's risk-free, and there is no money out of pocket for the nonprofit. So when the donation comes to the table, once it's sold, the specialized nonprofit keeps between 2 and 10% of the proceeds for handling the transaction. So in other words, no money ever comes out of the pocket of the nonprofit. And with the average donation being $600,000, when they're getting 95% of $600,000, that's a really good donation for the average nonprofit.
Well, Cami, I got to tell you, I'm a real estate agent, and your numbers were a little confusing. So let me just roll that back. They're getting about 10% of it. You said, but then you also said that the middleman, which is your organization, is your organization a 501(c)(3)?
So the specialized nonprofit that we partner with this,
Okay.
we're the real agents of change. We
Okay.
are the marketing arm. We're the big mouth that is teaching realtors and financial advisors and nonprofits, et cetera, how this works. Specialized nonprofit is the third party that we
Okay.
partnered with that actually handles the
Yeah.
transaction.
It's not unlike a 1031 tax exchange, only it's for consumers and not for uh, uh, investors. 1031 taxes change. You take your value and change it to another. This is doing another thing. This is taking the value of the home and allowing a philanthropy to get access to that cash through your organization and the people that you work with.
Well, it's similar in that the capital gains tax is avoided for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
What's different about this, though, is instead of having all those time constraints and having to find another property, and if you don't do it in a certain number of days, but the thing is, we do have that intermediary. So that intermediary, when the property donor comes to the table, they actually donate the real estate to the intermediary. They can get cash, they can get mortgages paid off. So let's say, for example, it's a nonprofit in Massachusetts and the property's in Florida and it's got a $200,000 mortgage on it. And the donor says, I love the Boys and Girls Club in Massachusetts, but I don't love them that much. I want to get 200,000 cash in my pocket. The mortgage has got to get paid off. So that's $400,000 somebody's got to come up with to get this property from the donor. And so that's what the third party specialized nonprofit does. They pay off the mortgage. They give the donor their 200,000 in this situation. And in less than 30 days, the donor is off the title, has their tax deduction. And now the property gets listed with a realtor in Florida. And when it's sold, those expenses are recouped. And then 95% of the proceeds go to the Boys and Girls Club. It's really a quite simple process. It's just that we've all never really heard of it before. Like,
right.
people donate real estate. Yeah, $9 billion a year.
Yeah,
So our job is to help it go from 9 billion a year to 29 billion a year, because 43% of our wealth in this nation is held in real estate. All these nonprofits have their hand out trying to get cash, and cash is less than 3% of what we have access to. So the smart ones are starting to say, 43% of wealth is in real estate. How does that work? How can
right.
we get that?
So I have two questions. I'm a real estate agent here. I run into a family, and they've got family members that they know it's like the end of time for their mom, their dad, and what they wanted. The mom and dad want to have it put into philanthropy in some manner or another. So would I then come to you and say, I want to do this with you, or do I go directly to the philanthropy and the philanthropy comes to you?
Well, what we do is we help to qualify the property. In other words, we have something called the rock.com/property evaluation. So the person can go in, fill that out, let us know what value they think the property is. If there's a mortgage, do they want money back? Are they wanting to do a charitable remainder trust? Like, there's a lot of variables there. But ultimately, if the property is not a timeshare, that's one thing we can't take as a
Right,
timeshare.
right,
If there's enough equity, and if the property is marketable. In other words, we're not
sure.
looking for properties that people just can't get rid of and want to unload. These are, as a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw, but 3 weeks ago, Jeff Bezos, owner of Amazon, his ex-wife just donated 2 houses in California, totaling $55 million at one whack. So that's a good donation. So when we find out that the property is marketable, we can sell it, it's got plenty of equity, and it's not a timeshare, then we put them in touch with a specialized nonprofit and they take it from there.
And sadly, the former Mrs. Bezos, I forget what her name is right now. She just
Mackenzie, I believe.
Mackenzie is her first name, right?
Yes.
Very, very, very philanthropic person, but she just announced divorce to her second husband. So I think those were
Mm,
the California houses. I'm not sure. Uh, and don't want to laugh. Divorce is a horrible thing for
yeah,
everyone,
for sure.
no matter what. Um, so that's all really interesting. Who is your demographic when you wake up in the day? Who do the Rock? Who do you want to talk to?
Well, there's a couple of different directions of folks that we want to talk to. We want to talk to generous, heart-centered property owners who want a tax deduction and want to leave legacy. Love
Okay.
the word legacy. So people who own real estate and didn't know, I didn't know I could donate real estate. I want to help my church. I want to help the veterans group. So we want to talk to the property owners. Secondly, we want to talk to real estate agents,
Right.
the ones that are seasoned, that are mature, and that are also ready to leave legacy. In other words, if it's a brand new realtor that doesn't even have a database yet and doesn't know how to write a
Right.
contract, we can't help them. But
Right.
someone like yourself that's really seasoned, you know, a lot of people, and you say, you know, I've been so successful in my career, I'd still like to take listings. I'd still like to get paid a full commission to do my job, but I'd also like to know that these properties I'm selling are actually giving millions of dollars to the
Right.
community. So
Right.
that's the second kind of person. And of course, we want to talk to the nonprofits too, but it's the donors of the property and the real estate agents that really make this work, because the nonprofits are more than happy to take the check.
Yeah, of course they are because they're doing good work with it for the most part. Um, so your demographic is the consumer, pretty much, and then the agent who can help the consumer or gives you access to the consumer. So
For sure. Who do you like to work with, Larry? Who's your favorite nonprofit or philanthropy?
I have a variety of issues that I help with, always homelessness and always food. I think, and water is the third one. So these things are all important to me, and there's various different groups that help. Rosie's Place here in Boston is helps homeless and battered women. Um, but there are a number of them, but it's always homelessness, food, and actually Pan Mass Challenge is something I've always done, and that's a helps the Jimmy Fund, and Jimmy Fund is helps different cancers. But there are so
Well,
many.
let me share a quick story with you that'll explain exactly how this works for all of them.
Right.
Last December, a gentleman reached out to the specialized nonprofit, to our team. It was December 15th. And he said, I need a tax deduction. I've got 12 vacant lots. I'll donate them if I can get a tax deduction this calendar year within 15 days. And they can do that because this is what they do from morning to night. This is
Yeah.
their livelihood. So
Right.
they took possession of those 12 lots. The gentleman got his tax deduction. They then put those lots on the market, and they knew they were going to get about $400,000 after all was said and done to go to the Berkeley Humane Society. So they called Berkeley Humane Society and said, hey, you're going to be getting $400,000 from this real estate. We know that this is a large amount of money. We want you to be prepared. So Berkeley Humane said, we are getting how much for what? Can we do that again? And they said, well, yeah, just let your donors know. So this is how simple it is, Larry.
Right.
They sent out an email, they went on social media, and they said, donors, we don't have a clue how this works. We don't know all the details, but what we do know is there's a piece of real estate right now that when it closes, we're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. If anybody's got any real estate, hallelujah, we can take it. And a woman raised her hand and she said, my mother left me a house in a 55 and older community in Carmel, California. I'm never going to live there. I don't need it. So that house was donated. In August, just about 6 weeks ago, that house, when it closed, got 646,000 more to that nonprofit. So one nonprofit, two donors, 6 months, $1,052,000. And if you go to their website, the Humane Society of Berkeley, they have a really cool calculator. If you click on it and you put in how much your property is worth and what your tax bracket is, et cetera, it'll tell you you're going to save $92,000 in capital gains tax. In other words, that's how simple it is. They don't know how it works. They just told their donors, and the donors said, yes, we will help you.
It's an awesome story. So, what is the plan between now and the end of the year? Now that you're traveling around and talking to a lot of people.
Well, thank you for asking, because we are creating CE classes for realtors all over the country, starting in Florida. You got to start one state and move on around. So right now we're getting charitable real estate, 3 hours continuing education accredited in Florida. We've got someone in New York State that wants to do it, someone in Texas, Arizona, California, later on down the road. And this time of the year, because it's the last quarter, we're out spreading the word. We're stopping in. There's 57 Board of Realtors in Florida. We pop in every one that we pass by. We let them know, hey, your community needs us. Our community needs us. We can help you bring millions of dollars into the community. And the best part, realtors have to get paid a full commission in order for these nonprofits to get funded. So we're rallying the troops. We're letting them know everybody leaves legacy this way. It doesn't have to be complicated or scary. You know, there was a time when we all rode horses and didn't have cars. Things change. And now this has just gotten so simple that when people just kind of say, oh, okay, all we have to do is tell our donors, tell our clients, let the people at the board know, hey, we can do bake sales and barbecues and ballroom functions and car shows and golf tournaments. But what if we got one piece of real estate? What if?
Yeah, it's a hugely different thing, and people who are successful in this business um, do make a very good living, and all of the ones that I know that are top producers, they're also very philanthropic because they understand that this money comes from the community, and it's important to give back to your communities. I don't know any top producer who doesn't do that in some way. Quite often, they'll do it under their own name. Say they had a child who had a horrific disease, and they'll raise money for that disease. Um, I wonder if those groups, say I'm a real estate agent, I unfortunately lost my child to sudden infant death syndrome, and I want to start a legacy to help people understand that. Um, and then somebody comes to me and wants to donate a house and use that. I would have to go through you to get all of that things figured out. So it's done legally and in the appropriate manner.
Well, yeah, so that it's just done a lot more easily. You know, the way we look at it, Larry, is if you go to any one of these nonprofits websites, all the ones you love and all 1.5 million, they have a button that says donate. And when you click on that donate button, you put in your MasterCard, your Visa, your Discover, your American Express. It's called credit card processing. The nonprofit doesn't know what your limits are, what your credit score is. They don't know how to process a credit card. You put your number in, and a couple of days later, money shows up in their account. What we're saying is now you can have a button that says donate real estate, and it's just real estate processing. You don't have to understand all the details of it. You don't have to micromanage it or hire people or have a team that's on salary or what have you. All you have to do is say, hey, we don't know how this works, but it's working. $9 billion a year. We sure would love to get some donations from real estate. If anybody's got a second home or a 3-family in Boston or a strip mall in California or a townhouse in New York City, we can actually have that processed and we just get the money. Just take the funding, as we like to say.
Sure, sure. It's really exciting what you're doing. It is a different process than we're used to, and I'm happy that here at Broker Talk we give you an opportunity to share that. How can people get in touch with you and get in touch with this organization and take your?
Well,
So this is 3 questions: get in touch with you, get in touch with the organization, and then get ready for certification.
Well, thank you for asking, Larry. And I would love to have you sit in on the charitable real estate class for free as our VIP guest. I just want
Thank
you
you.
to be able to wrap your head around it because all of those nonprofits need you. And when you're sitting in the fundraising meetings and you're going to the fundraisers and the galas and all those things, all you have to do is tell them, hey, you know what? There's another way to bring in
Right.
hundreds of thousands of dollars. So all you have to do is Google Cami Baker. We are the Rock. It's spelled the Real Agents of Change, RAOC. So therock.com. We've got a ton of links there where you can watch overviews. We have a 20-minute overview for realtors to show them how they actually make money, making a difference with us. We have a 20-minute video for nonprofits to understand how simple this can be. We have another video for donors to see why it's a benefit to them, and one for social responsibility, how for-profits and nonprofits can come together and make money making a difference. So you can come take the master class currently for free. We do have the certification process. So if you come to the master class and you want to pay the licensing fee, it's $400 for the year. And now you become a charitable real estate specialist certified, and you can use those logos. You get put on our map. We have a really cool map of the country, and you hover over all the states and you see the people that are certified. We also are putting nonprofits on that map so that realtors like you can find nonprofits that you don't have to explain this to. They just get it. They just want to partner and promote and help find the real estate together.
Right. So that $400 for the license, is that a yearly cost as well?
Yep, it's just like any other certification any of us ever get. You know, you pay for it up front, and then every year you have your renewal. So yeah, it's an annual fee.
How many people are certified right now across the country?
We've got about 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and growing because it's a new thing.
Well, you know, Larry, when I learned about this 3 years ago, I was a real estate agent too. And I was calling expireds and for sale by owners and door knocking and going to networking events, just like all of us do. And I was also doing a lot of fundraising. I did a car show and I gave money to Ronald McDonald House and Make-A-Wish and all these places. So 3 years ago, when I learned about this, I thought, holy cow, finally, there's a way that realtors can have a truly unique sales proposition, a way to show up completely different than any other realtor. The goal is, of the 2 million realtors in this country, to certify 1%. 1% is about 20,000 realtors. When we have 2,000 realtors all over this country, billions of dollars a year will be flowing through the nonprofits. And that equates to hundreds of millions in commission because they're full commission listings.
Right. Well, I'm sure that the minute the nonprofits get more aware of that, they're going to be knocking on your door as well. And with them will come the agents.
Well, as a matter of fact, when our book came out in Sarasota, we did a book launch. Real Estate is Hot, Fundraising is Not. And there was
show that book again, please.
There was a story written about us in the Business Observer.
Okay.
And Goodwill, the largest Goodwill that we know of in this country, Goodwill in Sarasota, Manatee County, saw the story and they did reach out to us.
Yep.
And we had an event with them 2 days ago and the hurricane came through and canceled it, but they did reach out. Easter Seals, Goodwill, and they work with 200 other nonprofits. You know, the veteran groups, the homeless shelters, the soup kitchens, domestic abuse. You know, all these nonprofits are very interconnected. And when one finds out about it and they bring their brothers and sisters to the table, the thing is, Larry, this is a win-win-win. And sometimes people will say things like, sounds too good to be true. And what we want to say to that is, how bad does something have to be for you for it to be true?
Right.
The nonprofits need the funding, the donors want the tax deductions, and the realtors want the full commission listing. What else do you want? Right?
Exactly. Cami Baker, Real Agents of Change, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for watching the Broker Talk. Tune in next week for another great show where you find out best practices in real estate. Thanks again, Cami. It's awesome to have you on board.
Thank you, Larry. Thanks for having us.
We'll talk to you soon. See you next week.